Hi creative minds, welcome back to the channel. For the sewing version, I'll be showing you guys the steps and the process I followed, just in steps and process. So it's going to be bit by bit. And in case you don't have your pattern drafted, I'll be providing a link on the description box below. So you can click on that link and go draft out your pattern and then come back to join me on the sewing version. If you find this channel interesting and you want to keep sewing with me, please go ahead and subscribe. And yeah, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up for the new subscribers and for the returning subscribers. Now the first thing we need to do is place the pattern on the fabric to cut, and this is how many pieces you need to cut. For the bust pattern, you need to cut out 4 pieces, 2 pieces for the lining, 2 pieces for the main piece. Next is the underbust pattern, and you need to cut out 2 pieces on fold. So make sure your fabric is on fold, place and cut out 2 pieces. Now for the last pattern, you need to cut out, this is the back piece, and you need to cut out 2 pieces. On my cutting board, I have my pattern with the fabric already cut out, and I'll be showing you guys what I have for each of them. Starting with the underbust, I have 2 pieces for the underbust, and one is going to be for the lining and other is going to be for the main piece. So this is the main piece, and this is how it looks. This is the shape. And yeah, I have indicated the wrong side of my fabric. That is very, very important, so make sure you do that. So this is the lining, and it looks exactly like the main piece, as you can see. And I also indicated the wrong side, so make sure you have 2 pieces for the underbust and don't forget to indicate the wrong side. So next is going to be the bust, and I have 4 pieces for this. While cutting out my pattern on the fabric, I added allowance round, 1/2 inch allowance round, and this is the 2 pieces for the lining. This is how it looks. So also make sure you indicate the wrong side of the fabric, and this is the main piece for the bust, and I have 2 pieces here, and don't forget to indicate the wrong side of the fabric. Now for the last, I have the back pattern here, and yes, while you're cutting your back pattern, please make sure you notch your darts. You can see we have the darts for the back pattern, so notch. Okay, so for the sewing, the step 1, what I did for the step 1 is join the bust main piece to the lining. So this is the lining and the main piece, each of them 2 pieces. So I'll go sew this part like this. I'll go sew this center front and move it over to my sewing machine, and this is what it looks after sewing. I just joined the main piece and the lining together, and this is what it looks like. So what I will do now is top stitch on the lining. I'm just going to top stitch, but I'll make sure I do this on the lining part. So this is the first step. Sew your lining to your main piece, that is for the bust, and make sure you top stitch on the lining. And once you're done, this is what you should have. This is what I have. Step 2 is for me to make a gathers on the bust. To do this, if you're using an industrial machine, this is how I make gathers. I adjust my sewing machine to 5. Now this is something I did not know about, and I found out that if you want to adjust and you press this down, it helps you adjust easily. I don't know if this is going to be new information. So now I have adjusted my sewing machine to 5. I can go ahead and sew a gather stitch on this part of the fabric. This side, that's the bust part. I just sewed a loose stitch, and now I'm just going to gather it. So to be able to sew a loose stitch, you need to adjust to 5 on your industrial machine. If you're using a manual machine, I think you need to go down to 6. Once you're done sewing a loose stitch, just go ahead and gather the bust parts. Now you have an option to gather this and just make sure it sits only on the nipple side, on just the middle part of your bust, or you can just decide to spread the gathers round on the bust side. Step 3 is for me to attach the gather bust to the underbust. So this is the main piece for the underbust. I'm just going to go ahead and attach my gather bust to this shape right here. So I just flip this to the right side, and I'm just going to place my bust right side facing the right side of my underbust, and I'm going to start pinning. Now make sure while pinning down your bust to your underbust, at the middle, make sure you leave ½ inch allowance before you start pinning. This is what I was saying. You have the option to just spread the gathers around the bust, or you can just make sure it sits only at the middle part of your bust. So I had my spread around.
I had to leave to find my way. Caught up in a daydream. I beat my mind up there almost daily. It's how I pass time, no opinions safely. It's how I understand what I want in this place. See, cause everybody wanna tell you bad things. What could go wrong? What fame brings, but success is a finicky thing.
So now that I'm done pinning, I'm just going to go ahead and sew by ½ inch. And I'll be showing you guys the results. So while you're making this, take your time. You don't need to rush. Just make sure you take your time, understand the process. And once that is done, I'll be showing you guys how it looks. This is the result. So this is how it looks. Step 4 is for me to attach the underbust lining to the main piece. So this is the lining for the underbust. What I'll do is flip this to the wrong side, and from the ½ inch I left in the middle of the underbust, the main piece, I'm just going to start from there, the ½ inch here. I'm just going to place this right side facing the wrong side of the underbust, the main piece, and I'm going to start sewing from that ½ inch I left in the middle. I'm just going to sew. You can see the pattern I'm sewing the lining to. I'm just sewing it on the gathers that is attached to the main piece of the underbust. And making it this way will make your back, that's the wrong side of your dress, looks clean. So once I was done sewing that together, I'm just going to notch. So make sure you do this so that it sits flat. So I'm just going to notch and make sure that when I flip it to the right side, it sits properly. So this is what I have. What I'll do now is just trim, because I realized that after attaching the two pieces, that's the lining and the main piece, was not equal. So I just went ahead to cut out ½ inch. And step 5 is for me to work on the back piece. So this is the back piece. The first thing I'm going to do is on the base of the zip side, I'm going to mark ½ inch up, and then I'll blend this back to the side of the back. But so what I'm trying to do right now is take off the bulge part of the zip. So I don't want, when I attach this part to the skirt part, I don't want it to have that bulgy effect. So I'm just taking out ½ inch from the center back, that's where the zip is going to sit. I'm taking a ½ inch and I just blended it back to the side, and this is what I have. So make sure you also notch your back dart, and then you take it to your sewing machine and sew to the point where your dart is going to stop. So you're going to just sew ½ inch straight up. Now step 6 is for us to create the facing for the back neckline. Now since we did not cut a lining for the back and we're cutting a facing, what I'll do now, I have a fabric folded into 2. I'm just going to mark 3 inches upwards from the length, and what I'll do is place the back neckline on that 3 inches, and then I'll just trace the back neckline on the fabric. I'm just going to trace it all the way to the shoulder, and now I'll take out my back piece and I'll mark the 3 inches round the facing. So you see how I'm just going to do, because I have 3 inches here, I'm just going to keep marking 3 inches round the facing, and then I'll create the shape I want and cut the rest fabric that I'm not going to be using out. And once I was done doing that, I'm just going to split this into 2, because the back piece actually splitted into 2 because of the zip. So I have splitted this into 2. So what I'll do now is I will attach each facing to each piece. This facing is going to sit on this piece, so I'll go sew by ¼ inch on the neckline, and while I am at it, I'll also hem the base of the lining. to also hem the base by 1/4 inch. I also do this for the second piece, and once I was done, this is how it looks. What I'll do now is use my hemming gum to hold down the facing to the fabric so that the facing does not move. The hemming gum is just going to help that. It's just going to be the solution for the facing not to move.
But I didn't like their way. Had to fight and misbehave. Had to find a way to change. Had to leave to find my way.
So this is how it looks. This is the right side of the back, and this is how it looks. So I also go ahead and iron down my dart so it sits flat. So this is the dart already sewn in. Make sure you sew your darts, guys. This is the second piece of the back piece. I'm just going to place them right side facing right side, and then I'll sew 1 inch for the zip. Now where the zip is sitting, I'm just going to sew 1 inch from the neckline down to the waist. 1 inch. I hope this is actually in beats and in steps, and for the beginners, this is actually helping you guys out. Please let me know in the comment section, and don't forget to like if you like how the process is turning out. Now step 7 is going to be for us to sew the front and the back piece together. So this is my back piece. I have my dart sewn in, and I have the 1 inch for the zip sewn, and this is the front piece. I'm just going to place it right side facing right side, and I'll sew by 1/2 inch on the side, 1/2 inch on this side, and on the shoulders 1/2 inch. So this is how mine looks after sewing. So this part is done. Let's move into the next step. Step 8 is for me to make the skirt part of this dress, and for the skirt part of this dress, I'm just going to be making a gathers, and the width of my fabric is my round waist times 3. My round waist is 31 times 3 gives you 93, so that is how wide my fabric is, and the length for me is 22 inches. That is how long the length of this fabric right now is 22 inches, but later on I went ahead to cut out 3 inches out of the length. So what I'll do now is just go sew a loose stitch on the top part of my fabric. I'm just going to sew from one end to the other end, loose stitches. And after sewing the loose stitch, I'm just going to go ahead and gather the fabric together to my round waist plus zip allowance. So I'm just going to make sure that I gather this to my round waist plus zip allowance. So there are other ways you can make your down part of the skirt. If you decide to attach a pencil skirt to the upper part we just created, you can do that. And yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and place my tape from one end to the other end, making sure I get excess like 3 inches to my round waist. Once I confirm and I saw I have 34 inches worth of width, I'm just going to go ahead and go into step 9, which is join the top piece to the skirt piece. So this is the top piece. I went ahead to open up the zip part, the zip allowance, and as you can see, I have the sharp line for the middle point indicated here. And for the skirt part, I already know the middle point. I went ahead to find out the middle point. I'm just going to place the middle point of the skirt part to the middle point of the top part, and then I'll pin this before I take to the machine to sew. So I'm just going to place this middle point to middle point, and making sure I place this right side of the upper part to the right side of the skirt part, and I'm just pinning. So like I said, you can decide to change the down part of your dress. You can decide to make it a pencil, flay, gathers, whatever you want, girl. Don't be limited. So after pinning, I'll just take this my sewing machine and I'll join the upper part to the skirt part. Step 10 is for us to mark where we want the zip to stop. So after joining, this is it. This is how it looks. I have my upper part attached to the skirt part, and now I need to sew this in together. I need to close the zip and I need to sew the base of the skirt, that is the center back. So I'm just going to mark where I want the zip to stop, and what I'll do is I'll place my tape from the waist and go down by 3 inches. So from here upwards, I'll be attaching my zip, and from here downwards, I'll be sewing in by 1 inch. Now attaching the sleeve, you guys forgive me, I lost the clip to how I made the sleeves, and so what I will do is I will provide a link where you can create a sleeve pattern, and now you have the opportunity to create whatever kind of sleeves you want to. So I'm just going to upload a link, and you use the link to create your pattern, and then you can change the sleeves to whatever you want it to be. So the next thing I'm going to do right now is attach my zip, and I'll be showing you guys how to do that. So this is it. This is the point where the zip is going to stop. I'm just going to place my zip right side facing the right side of the fabric and the wrong side facing the wrong side of the fabric. And I went down by 1 inch. I make sure I went down 1 inch before the open point. And I'll start sewing from the wrong side. I'm not using a zipper foot. I'm used to sewing my zip in like this. I'll make sure that I just sew very, very close to the zip. That's what I always do. And I'm just going to follow the line already indicated on the fabric. For my ironing, I already have a line indicated. So I'm just making sure that my zip sits on that line and I follow it carefully. So once I'm done sewing this side, I'm just going to go ahead and flip this to the other side, and then I'll sew just the same way I did for the other side of the zip. I'm just doing the same thing for the side, and I'm just going to sew straight down to where the zip is going to stop. And this is how it looks once I was done attaching my zip. So you guys, this is the end of this video, and I hope this was really easy for you. I hope the step was able to take you to a point. Please let me know on the comment section if you face any challenges. And girl, please don't be limited. With this pattern, you can create any outfit you want. There are different styles you can create with a gather cup. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same style I just created. You can just go ahead and be creative. Just look at these beautiful dresses. Try, just go out and be great. Just be great. Create this beautiful outfit for yourself and let me know how it goes. So you guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking with me to the end of this video. I hope I was able to impact a few knowledge on you. And if I was like this video, and if you like this particular kind of video, I have so many other videos available and you are going to like that too. So go ahead and just subscribe, become a part of this creative mind, and I'll be seeing you guys on my next video. Love and light to you. Bye for now.